Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hello. This is Kelly, and I just want to say thank you for pressing play today. I'm so excited to spend this precious time with you. I have an amazing guest today, Adria DeCorte, who I'm spotlighting in my Visionary Woman series because I feel that her message is so important for all of you who feel that there is something bigger pulling you, that feel dissatisfied with your life as it is currently, or maybe not even dissatisfied, but just like blah. She has such a great message, and I'm really excited to bring you this interview. Before I dive into that, I want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by Beauty Counter. And this month I'm going to do something special. Every single week, I'm going to feature one of my favorite products. So today I thought I would start with the first Beauty Counter product I ever used, tried, bought, and it was many years ago. I tried the cleansing balm, and it was sort of my gateway drug, if you will, into Beauty Counter. It completely changed my skin. I use it to wash my face every day, and it just feels so good. It's like a little spa treatment every time I do it. And I love the way it makes my skin feel. Now, mind you, I am 44 years old and my skin is what I would call mature. It's sometimes dry, and I really like how just moisturized it makes my skin feel and soft. And this is a great product for you if your skin is like that. Now, I've never tried it on oily skin, but I know a lot of people who do use it for their skin that is oily, and it works great for them. It's also a fantastic makeup remover. And I even use it sometimes as an overnight moisturizer if I'm feeling really dried out. So it's like an all-in-one for everything. So good. And it is a little bit on the spendy side. When you see it, when you click the link in the podcast app that you're listening to, you'll see, oh gosh, I don't know. But I want to let you know that a jar of this lasts like 6 or 7 months. So when you break it down, it is really reasonable per month. Like seriously, for me, I think I figured it out. It lasts me about 6 months, and that brings it down to about $13 a month. Like seriously, I spend more than that on coffee every month. Way more than that. So I encourage you guys to check it out. And of course, if you have questions, please let me know. You can shoot me an email at kelly@kellycovert.com, or you can connect with me on social media at Kelly J. Covert. So if you guys want to check out this, click the link, or you can go to kellycovert.com/beauty and search for the cleansing balm. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Adria, because you guys are going to fall in love with her. She calls herself a message clarity coach, and she is super jazzed about helping women uncover the marketing message that lights them up and communicates the value in their work so they can serve more people, scale their business, and start a movement. Talk about a visionary helping visionaries. I mean, that is exactly what she's doing. She has done a TEDx talk. She used to be an architect, and then she turned into a plant ecologist before she evolved into what she's doing now. She's shared her voice on over 30 podcasts, radio, and video shows, and she's also been featured on the Huffington Post and Fox Morning News Las Vegas. And on the weekends, what she loves doing is hiking around her hometown of Las Vegas with her fur child, Lexi the Doberman. Oh my gosh. I think I want to see Lexi. I want to meet Lexi. Anyway, you guys are going to love this podcast, but because she really transparently and vulnerably I think that's a word, shares her story of her evolution from one career to another, and how she's given herself permission to lean in to those urgings of her inner voice. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview with Adria DeCorte. Welcome, Adria DeCorte, to In Her Voice. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here, Kelly.
Me too. And we've got some juicy conversation ahead. I can just feel it. And I'm featuring you today in my Visionary Woman Spotlight. And when I first read your bio and I checked out your website, I thought to myself, this is a visionary woman. And so I want to start with, what does it mean to you when I say you are a visionary woman?
Ooh, the good stuff.
Yeah.
To me, that idea of being a visionary woman kind of pulls up this sense of someone who feels the sense of purpose in their life, and uses their voice to move that purpose forward, to connect with other people, to create shifts and ripple effects in the world. That it's not just this internal need and desire and craving, but it's like putting it into action and actually making things happen in the world that create those shifts.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that. I love that, because I really feel that as women, we can be so impactful when we change our own lives. Because when we change our lives, we change the lives of the people around us, and we change the world. And like you said, that ripple effect, it really starts with us. And so I wonder if you'll share with my audience how you came to be a coach of women, someone who helps women find and share and refine their message. What was your path to this point?
Ooh, well, as I'm sure most of your guests say, it was not a straight path.
Never, and
never. My path involved a lot of evolution along the way. It involved having two past careers, one in architecture, one in botany and plant ecology, and then finding that I was really being called to use my voice and to support other women in a much more direct way, in a way where I could make things happen. I could make things happen faster because I came out of working for the government and I had a fabulous entrepreneurial position. My boss was an 8-hour drive away. And so I had a lot of fluidity on the projects I wanted to take in, and I had a lot of purpose because I was doing work in natural resources, so restoration of damaged ecosystems, or working with municipalities on tree boards to get more trees planted, and doing grants, and like so many different things that there was purpose behind, but I didn't feel like I had the full freedom to make the impact I wanted to make and to like directly influence people's lives. And so at that point, I was starting to see other people doing businesses that they were starting online, and they were connecting with people all around the world. And I was seeing people writing and blogging, and I am just a born writer and messenger and communicator. And so I started feeling this craving to express myself in that way and to be able to connect in that way, and shifted into that. Eventually was just so much more passionate about that than I was about what I was doing in my career. And this was several years ago now, and just put both feet into it. But even then, I had that craving, but my path as a messenger and, as you say, a visionary woman was still kind of getting birthed. Because I knew, like, getting into that, I knew that I wanted to get my message out there, but I actually didn't know what my message was. I just knew I had something to say.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And so I I decided, okay, the way to grow a business and to be seen and to be known is to put yourself out there. So in probably the first year that I was in business, I wrote over 100 blog posts. I produced a cookbook, and I decided to do this one-day event, which was a big deal in my world at the time. I put 3 months into it of like 80-hour weeks. I got a marketing team. I brought in guest speakers. I had sponsors, like all these different pieces. And when the day of the event came, I was really just doing this event as a way to use my voice, but I didn't yet know what that message was. I didn't really know what it was I did with people or how to communicate it or any of those pieces. So I had about 65 people in the room, which felt like a huge success.
Yeah.
Right? I felt so successful because of that. And I felt like everyone was talking about these aha moments that they'd had and these shifts that they'd had going through it. But then at the end of the day, I ended up getting 0 clients from it. And one of my speakers, she like runs over to me afterwards and she shows the sign up form of people who want to have calls with her. And there's 10 people on it. and that was a pivotal moment because it was a moment that showed me that if I wanted to do this work and make an impact and have people that I was going to work with to do it, that I really had to be clear on what that message was and how I was communicating it, how I was sharing why people needed me, what it was I did, like that whole package of messaging. Mm-hmm. And so my path to kind of being this, I guess, visionary woman that we're talking about, it went through that. That was kind of this little walkway I had to go through to realize that it wasn't enough for me to just know that I wanted to use my voice, but I kind of had to know what it was I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is such an important message. That's an important message for people to hear. And that is, you don't always have the entire picture, the entire vision at the beginning. And that it's okay. Like, it's okay that the vision evolves and it grows and it changes as you evolve and grow and change. And that's a really, really important part of understanding what it means to be visionary. And I think some people do have that clarity from the very beginning, but it's not required.
Right. Yes. And one of the things I'm a huge believer of is that in business and in life, it's a continual evolution. And that if we expect to get something absolutely right from the beginning, or to like find the thing that is going to be that way forever, then it's kind of setting ourselves up for a lot of frustration and a lot of disappointment and often a lot of feeling like we're not enough.
Yes. And I'm sure that there are a few women who've listened to this who have felt that feeling or do feel that feeling on a regular basis. And I feel very passionate about letting women know that that's not how we're supposed to feel. Like, that's not why we're here. We're not put on this earth to feel not good enough. Mm-hmm. And I love that you share that, because it's always about being open to more, open to more, open to more. What's next? What's coming? And not being so attached to what we think it has to look like. Because that's where we get in trouble, really.
Right.
Is feeling like it has to look a certain way. Well, and so going back for you to these other careers, which, you know, sound interesting and amazing, like you were really enjoying yourself, right? So from the outside looking in, you had it together. You had a great job. You were serving. You were filled with purpose. But what were the cues that you were getting that you needed something more than that, or that this wasn't the right place for you?
Yeah. Such a good question. Because several times along my path, I did have that sense that this isn't quite right and there's something else I need to be doing. And it's a really uncomfortable feeling when that happens. I know that because those are the people that I work with that, you know, you're in that space where where what you're doing, like you said, it sounds so good to the outside world. So for me, being in architecture, it my mom was proud of me,
Oh,
it sounded
well,
really
sure.
good, right?
My daughter's an architect, of course.
Right? Yeah. And then being in the plant ecology world and the natural resources world, I, basically how I would describe my job is I hike for a living, I get to, go out and be in nature and explore and help make a difference in that world. And so these were things that from the outside sounded really fabulous. And in my brain, they sounded really good too, right? This seems very logical for me to be doing. But there was this lack of kind of fire around them for me. So I wasn't fired up. And maybe I was in the beginning, but at a certain point, I didn't feel aligned with it anymore. I didn't feel this kind of passion and excitement to like research more about it and do more with it. And I started to drift in a different direction and seek other things. And it started to be more draining. And on each point of my path, because I've evolved several times, I've evolved a few times within being a business owner. At each point in my path, when I've noticed that happening, where I start getting drained and I start blocking opportunities, start blocking people from working with me because I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Then I've started to learn to notice that is that inner voice that is saying something to me and that is kind of letting me know that there is an evolution to happen. And I haven't always been so good at listening to it. That's for sure.
Well, it takes practice.
It takes practice and it takes time and tapping in and even me recognizing that that's what's happening. And I'm so grateful that at this point in the evolution of my business that I've learned to listen to it. Because if I think back to even last year, I had a time where the messaging, what I was saying in my business, it was really logical and made a lot of sense. I was doing things that other people were coming to me for. So in the business world, that's kind of what we think of when we think of, okay, you're doing good work. You're doing work that people want to pay for, that they're coming to you for, that they're asking for. But I was starting to notice that the exact work I was doing, the exact things I was really talking about were kind of draining and weren't lighting me up. And I was starting to block clients. I was starting to block opportunities. And so I noticed that again. I'm like, okay, it's time to evolve. And what does that look like now?
Yeah. I love how you're tapping into the negative feelings, because I think sometimes, especially as we go deeper into personal development and this idea of being connected to our inner voice, that sometimes when we're feeling the negative things, we just view that as wrong. Like, well, I'm not being positive. And I think that what I hear you saying has become a really powerful practice for you is to have an awareness around that negativity and to really get clear, not just on the negativity itself, but where it's coming from and what it's saying to you, using it as data almost.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great point because, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. There is so much in the self-development world and in our world, there's so much of wanting to, okay, let's always shift to the positive. And one of my brand values is positivity, is this sense of possibility. So I definitely believe in the importance of that. But there's kind of also the sense that if something doesn't feel good, it's more of a sign than something to be like, oh, gotta shift it to positive. It's more of, okay, like what does this mean for me?
Right. It's going like a couple of layers deeper than just the negative thought. And I think that the challenge is when you have the negative thought, we can get stuck in the cycle of the negative thought and of just like feeling that feeling. And really what the challenge is, it's about saying, okay, here's a feeling like I'm feeling really drained from my job. So instead of just be like, oh, my job sucks, I hate it, I don't really enjoy it anymore, I'm not looking forward to it, go into, okay, well, like, why is this draining me? What is this telling me? Like, what is this negative emotion showing me right now that I can use, that I can listen to, that's constructive? And so I find that to be very powerful too. And my listeners know, like, I'm super sort of look on the bright side, every cloud has a silver lining kind of a girl. That's just who I am. But I do think that when I start to feel those negative feelings too, I have to really take a step back and be like, okay, what's up? Like, why am I feeling this way? What's going on here? And how can I shift it? Because I don't want to feel that way. Right. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so valuable to hear that it's not always just about, oh, just like turn a switch on and then the negatives go away or something like that. It's about working through them and figuring out what they're telling you.
Right.
So you call yourself a messenger, which I love that word. And I'm curious, what is your message? Like, what do you feel like is the message that you were born to deliver to this world?
So that's the thing, is that my message has been evolving. I've had many different core messages that I felt like I needed to birth and that I needed to share with the world. And it's something that has continually been evolving, especially over the last several years. And that hasn't always been easy, because, sometimes we have this sense that, okay, I have one message to share. What is that message? And then there's a lot of pressure behind that. And I remember when 3 years ago, I did a TEDx talk. And after doing my TEDx, which was a fabulous moment in my life, where I felt like, okay, I'm getting to shift thousands of lives by doing, a 15-minute talk.
Yeah.
But after that, I felt called to evolve away from the message that I had shared on that talk. And that was really uncomfortable. And even since then, I've evolved a couple of times. And what's really interesting is that right now, the message that I'm really feeling called to share, and that just feels like so my truth right now, is this sense that in business, in life, that there is evolution, that you are continually evolving, and that the way to feel aligned in your life is to find what is in alignment for you at this moment. Mm-hmm. And to let the future take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, because I think that, well, first of all, I have ADHD. So it's like, I don't want to like have to like stick into one thing and get bored with that. And I think, my career, I have multiple careers. I consider myself multi-passionate, but I feel like it's almost kind of the same thing, because it's like they all tie together somehow, and they're all sort of like weaving together and moving and growing at the same time. And I think one of the challenges to that, though, is having the courage to do it, having the courage to evolve, to change, to say, actually, now I want to do this. Where did you find that? How did you come to that place of courage? How did you figure out how to take that first step into the evolution?
Right, because I am naturally a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. I want to, my natural instinct is to work on everything in my head, in private, until it's perfect, and then put it out into the world, And so it does take a lot of courage to step out and be like, okay, this is what it is. And this is what it is for now, and I might change my mind. Yeah. And so for me, one of the things that I first needed to learn and to step into was the idea of imperfect action, the idea that to just keep moving. And one of the things that really helped me get there was remembering that my mission is greater than the discomfort that what I have to do, the voice I want to use, what I want to make happen in the world, or the shifts I want to create for people, that is more important than any discomfort I have. That's what helped me go from, I was a painfully shy child. That's what helped me go from being like that to being a speaker and, doing a TEDx talk and doing keynotes and speaking on stages is I knew that what I had to say, that message was more important than the discomfort I was having, that I was in service of the people who needed to hear it. And tapping into that, like I often have my clients use that as a mantra, that my mission is greater than my discomfort.
Yeah. I think that is key to being a visionary woman, is holding on to that, holding on to the idea that having a big vision, having a message, having a purpose, whatever you want to call it, right? That it's not always a cakewalk, that there will be challenging times, but that we have to understand that is greater, that's the driver behind all of the actions that might seem hard in the moment, because we know that it's pushing us, and that we have to allow that, and to allow the discomfort, and to allow the resistance to come, and then to push through it anyway, right? Yeah. So I love that. The vision or the mission is greater than the discomfort.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, write that down. That's good. Everybody should stop right now. Get out your pencil, write it down. So you know what I think too, and I've seen this in a lot of the women that I work with, my clients and peers that I know, coaches that I know, I feel that oftentimes the evolution of the message is also a refining of the message. So I feel like even though there's a changing, that oftentimes there's a through line through all of it it's like the connective tissue that holds it together as it becomes more and more refined, as it becomes more and more clear. Do you feel that in your work?
So I think I could find it if I were to look back and see everything. And I kind of, the way I see it is that there's sort of two levels of evolution. So there's the full just 90-degree pivot, but then there's the fine-tuning into alignment. And I've done both because my TEDx talk is how food fuels hustle. And I used to work with female entrepreneurs around burnout proofing their business. And so like all of those self-care habits and everything that goes into managing your energy. And that's still part of the work I do. And it's still kind of an underlying motivator that goes behind my message. But then when I shifted into being like, okay, I realized that actually the work that felt really in alignment for me and that I was actually truly naturally talented at was messaging, was helping people find what that message is for them and helping them be able to communicate it in language that their people got, that made their people inspired and want to sign up or want to join their cause or whatever it was. And so when I made that big pivot from talking about wellness to talking directly about people using their voice, it was a very uncomfortable shift and pivot. And it didn't feel like I tried to connect it. I tried to make it more of a through line. And I ended up getting really clever. Like I was trying to be like, okay, so this whole piece is a tree and the roots are your self-care and the branches are visibility and the leaves on the branches are your messaging. And so I was trying really hard to connect everything together, when really it was when I released it and stepped into what was coming out of me now and what was being birthed now that I was able to really step into it. And so I feel like it depends at the place you're on your journey, that maybe the underlying purpose behind what you're doing can kind of have that thread running through it. But then sometimes the message that you're sharing, it can make a big pivot. And it can be part of your overall things you believe in. Like there's maybe this whole spool of different things you believe, and you're pulling one of them out. So it depends, because then recently in this past year, I've made this little micro shift back into alignment of what I'm saying, where I'm still working with people on similar things. My course is still the same course. It still supports especially beginners and getting clear around their messaging. But I wanted to bring to the forefront talking about being a messenger, whereas before, last year, I had really dived into talking more about people getting, like helping coaches get clients, and how do you communicate in a way that really connects with them and makes them want to sign up and pay for your work. Like this idea that if we're sometimes we get into this space where we don't feel good enough in our business because it seems like the what's supposed to work isn't working, but it's not that you're not talented. It's just that you don't know how to communicate in a way that connects with your people. So that's what I was talking about a lot last year. And it still resonates. I still have the tools for people around that to help them with that. But I realized on the forefront, on my own podcast, and what I wanted to be sharing and what I wanted to be a voice for was more directly around being a messenger.
So let's talk about that, because I think that's super cool. Do you think that everyone is a messenger?
I think that if you're asking whether you're a messenger, you're probably a messenger. If you have that awareness, if you have that voice inside of you that feels like bubbling up, like you have something to say, even if you don't know what that is yet, that you're a messenger. And I believe that not everyone is, that some people, that's not their path, and it's totally fine. But for a lot of people who are feeling called to say something or do something or make a difference, but make it with their voice, then I believe that it's possible for any of those people to make that happen.
Totally. I agree with you. And I think that, being a messenger it's like a calling almost. And so not everyone's called to be the messenger. Some people are called to be the helpers, and the messengers need those people. Some people are called to be, the lovers. Well, I think we are all lovers, but you kind of get what I'm saying, right?
Right.
Like, I think that we all have a different calling.
And some people are more called to do behind the scenes, and it's not that they aren't a leader or that they aren't helping people, but their way might be more of like one of my dear friends who helps people set up a lot of things behind the scenes in their business. So she's still helping people to get their messages out, right?
Yeah.
She's helping people to grow their businesses or to do whatever it is they want to do. But she herself wouldn't really think of herself as a messenger, and she doesn't feel that calling to create aha moments for people, to create ripple effects and shifts.
Right. So if there's a woman today listening who feels that call to be a messenger, who has that message inside of them that they can't help but share. And, here's the thing, ladies, as you listen, think about what you talk to your friends about. Is there a theme for you that you always come back to? Is there something that gets you fired up? Because most likely you're a messenger if that's you. And so my question for you, Adria, is for these women who are really feeling that pull, how do they begin? What are some steps that they can take to start tapping in and getting really clear on that message?
Oh yeah. So I have a whole freebie message clarity kit that I can kind of let people know about at the end.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so you can kind of have a tool to help you move through all of this, even when you're done listening to the episode. But one of the first steps is to really start from a space that allows receiving of the clarity around what your message is. Because a lot of times clients will come to me and they're like, okay, what's my message? I need to figure this out now. Let's do this. And this forcing energy, this like, okay, it needs to happen right now. It really blocks clarity from coming to you. And so starting by getting in a space where you're doing things that excite you and light you up. And that might mean shifts in your life. That might mean adding things into your life or taking things away, even for a week. Like when I was going through this pivot this year, this little fine tuning and finding alignment again, I needed to start doing things that excited me. And so and you don't have to go as drastic as me, but I started traveling a lot more because I was like, okay, well, what excites me right now? And so I knew it was exploring other cultures and being in different spaces and getting in different energy. And so in this last quarter alone, I've been on 6 trips.
Oh, wow.
And one of them, I went to Malta and London, and I backpacked Havasu Falls. And I've been tapping into what excites me and what lights me up to kind of open that clarity channel. Mm-hmm. And you do not need to go as drastic as me. You maybe just have to take a pause and breathe a little bit and do one thing that maybe normally shifts your energy into this lighter place. So maybe that's like doing 5 minutes of yoga or doing a dance break or a little bit of breathing, or, it can be a fast thing. But start from that space where it's not pushing and you have this lighter energy.
Yeah. This is so interesting. I love this. And I think it can be drastic like yours, or it can be super simple. In fact, I was just sharing with the ladies that are in my mastermind group today how I, since my kids are off of school for the summer, I sort of had some flexibility in my schedule. So I've been working out at 6 a.m. where normally I would work out like around 9 or 9:30. And so since and I was kind of thinking, well, I bet I'll be tired. I bet, I'll have to go to bed earlier or whatever. And so since I've been working out at 6 a.m., I feel like I'm on fire, which was not what I was expecting. Like, I kind of just did it because it was going to be easier, and I would be working out when my kids were still asleep, and then I would be home. Like, that was sort of the impetus for that decision making. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, whoa, like I feel different. And so it could be as simple as changing up your schedule for a couple of days and see how that makes you feel. See if that gives you a pocket of space and time where you can be still, where you can connect with your inner voice and listen in a different way than you've been listening.
Yes. And when you're in that space, when you're feeling like you're coming from a space where you're feeling lighter and you're not feeling like you're forcing something to happen, then you can tap in and you can, I have some exercises that are in that message clarity kit, but you can, one of the things that, the assignments, I guess, I give clients or that I walk clients through is to close your eyes and visualize that you are on a TED stage, like a TED Talk stage, and visualize that you're looking out at your audience and they're all filled with the exact people, the type of people that you want to change their lives. And you open your mouth and out comes something that you want to share with them that you know will shift their lives. And what is it? Oh, this is so good. I just want to okay, bye. I'm going to go do my little You're like, pause.
Actually, no, my message came out right away. Like even in that moment that you were saying, and it is, you are worthy. And that's powerful. Like, I know that that's my message that I've been put here to share, but I think what a great exercise. Mm-hmm. I mean, my goodness. And like fun.
right. Visualizing, I feel like that alone, it just helps you get into that space of, oh, I actually see this. I used to lead a group program, and I probably will again. And it was for beginner coaches kind of getting clarity around what it is they want to do. And what the message behind their work was and how they were starting to put it out into the world. And I remember that this was a group of coaches who were at the beginning of their journey. And I remember there was one round that I ran that at the end I had and I didn't even make, like, applying for a TED Talk was definitely not on the list of things they had to do in this program. But I had 2 separate women in the program who then went and applied for a TED Talk because they felt this sense of possibility and this connection to their message. And they were like, okay, I'm ready to share it. What do I do next?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I think that that's probably another, if you're unsure of whether or not you've been called to be a messenger, that's also a good exercise, because if you picture yourself on that stage and you're like, no, then maybe you're calling us somewhere else, and that's okay. That's 100% okay.
I want to say one thing about that, though, because sometimes for a lot of, like, if you're listening to this and the thought of public speaking, you would rather die, you are with the majority of the population who would choose death over public speaking. So you might close your eyes and visualize being on a stage in front of a crowd of people and then be like, shut down and be like, I don't know what my message is, because that sounds horrible just to be in front of people.
Yeah.
So what I would say then is, you don't have to give this talk. So don't worry about the talk. Just worry about maybe focusing in your visualization, focusing on one person in the crowd and locking eyes with that person and thinking of that as the person whose life you want to change, and think about it that way.
Yeah, because the message does not have to be delivered to 1,000 people at one time.
Right.
It could be delivered to one person 1,000 times.
Right.
And that's just as powerful.
You could be a podcaster and get to do this work where we create all these episodes around our message and sharing and helping and supporting, and then put them out into the world and connect with people in that way. There's a lot of ways you can be a messenger.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, Adria, what a great message you're sharing with us. I'm so grateful for you, and so grateful for the courage that you have had in your life to really listen to your inner voice and to listen to that pull. That you were made for more than plants and architecture.
Plants and buildings.
Yeah, which are important.
Yes.
But clearly your message goes deeper than that. So why don't you share with our listeners how they can find you? And we will definitely link to that message clarity giveaway.
Kit. Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't think of the last word. Thank you. Message clarity kit that you're speaking of, that will be in the show notes, and also in the podcast app. There will be a link, whatever you're listening to. So why don't you tell everyone else where they can find you and connect with you?
Perfect. Yes. So definitely the first place where I can just immediately support you is that message clarity kit. And like Kelly said, it'll be in the show notes. If you feel like you want to just pause and go directly, it's adriadecorte.com/message. And that's going to be a great tool to just be able to dial this in. There's a few other exercises within it. And there's also support within it to help, okay, you have this beginning of the message. How do you start to put it into words that'll really connect with your people? So it kind of goes an extra level deeper too. So it's a great first step for me to help you for free. And my podcast is another fabulous tool for you. If you're listening to this, you probably like podcasts. And my podcast is called Unforgettable. I have a whole series that I did around tuning in, getting this clarity around your message and figuring out what it is that you can check out. It's like episode 83 through 88 or something like that.
Awesome.
So that's a great place to go to. And then the place to connect with me so we can have a two-way conversation and we can get to know each other better is Instagram. That's one of my favorite places to be. I do Instagram stories almost every day, sharing just behind the scenes of what it means to be a messenger. And I would love to connect with people there.
Yeah, that's my fave too.
Oh, and my handle is just Adria DeCorte, my name.
Adria DeCorte. And we'll link to that too.
Yeah.
We'll link to that as well. Awesome. Adria. Well, so I want to end with a question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, in your life currently, what is your inner voice asking of you?
My inner voice has been asking me kind of loudly, actually, to really be able to focus my energy on directly supporting the people who are messengers, on being able to have that ripple effect even more deeply than me just using my message, by helping others birth their messages. So then it's kind of that spider web, like exponential effect. And that's just feeling so good to me right now.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job of it. And so thank you for listening to your inner voice. And thank you for coming here today and sharing your message and sharing your joy. Like, I just want to say, like, this whole time that we've been talking, I just haven't had a smile. I've had a smile on my face. I just feel there's so much joy in your voice. And I mean, we can't see each other, but I imagine that you're smiling too. So thank you for sharing that with us.
I sure am. I really am. It's funny that yeah, absolutely. And this has been such a pleasure. Thank you, Kelly. This is some of the stuff that I just love talking about so much. And so I'm so happy that we could kind of share this conversation with you who were listening to us, because I know your tribe is fabulous, and get to connect on that level.
100%. Thank you again for listening. I hope that this message resonated with you. And if it did, can you do me a favor? Take a screenshot and share it on your social media. Put it in your Insta stories or on your Facebook and share it with your friends, because this is the kind of meaty conversation that we really need to be feasting on. Oh, did you see what I just did there? It's meaty and we're feasting. Ha! Because really though, it changes our perspective. It helps us think of things in a new way. It opens up possibilities. It helps us see that, yes, we can change. Yes, we can evolve. Things don't have to be the way they've always been. So please share, and thank you for doing that. You do not even know how much it means to me when you guys share with one another. It is really so meaningful and magical, and it makes such a difference. Just a reminder, go check out that Beauty Counter link if you are interested in trying out my number one favorite Beauty Counter product. It's such a lovely way to give yourself that extra self-care that you are needing and to really treat yourself right, because you know what? You deserve it. And let me remind you, you matter. We need you showing up in this world to do your inspired work, to rise to your inspired potential. You are worthy.